Welcome back to ADHD Skills with Jess and Alex. She's Jess, I'm Alex, and today we're going to be talking about school. And Jess, when we talk about going back to school, getting the new school year off, it's early in the school year for most people. What comes up for you when you think about school and, all the things you have to do with school?
For me, a lot of it is motivation and the
Mm,
lack of motivation that I found. And this I found was very similar when I was in middle school, high school, college, even graduate school. Was lack of motivation just to start back over again and
mm.
figure out, oh, what I need to do, what's the routine, oh, just all that headache. So for me, a lot of it was lack of motivation, especially with classes. If I was taking something I didn't like, or if the teacher I just wasn't enthusiastic or was just too enthusiastic sometimes. So for me, oftentimes it was the motivation. What about for you?
Yeah, I really connect with that lack of motivation thing. I always hated school. I never wanted to go. I never wanted to do my homework or anything like that. But I knew it was something that's where I am in life. I have to do it. So one of the things that I did, especially in college, was come up with a routine that really helped me. I was like, okay, this is just what I do, rather than having to think, what should I do next? I had like a set order of things. So in my first semester of college, my classes were scheduled for me and they were all morning classes. I would not have chosen that. I would have preferred to sleep in, but circumstances were what they were. But I noticed that because I had all morning classes, I had my afternoons free. So in the afternoons, I did my homework, and then in the evenings, I could do whatever I wanted. So I discovered that by setting up this routine, I could reward myself by getting everything done. You know, in high school, you've got morning classes, afternoon classes, and then your evenings. So in college, I just tried to keep things somewhat the same just by doing my classes in the morning, homework in the afternoon, and in the evenings, I could do whatever I want. And that little reward of having a free evening was very motivating for me. How about for your experience? What do you
Oh,
notice?
routines are my favorite. I definitely would agree with everything. Is that for me, a big thing is the reward at the end. So a lot of times for me, with the lack of motivation, what I would do is I would have to sometimes most times force myself to sit down with a pad of paper and open up the online assignment that I had to get done and write down a to do and write down what I had to do for each step. And I would draw a little checkbox so that when I'm done, I could just check it off. The reward and satisfaction of just checking it off was so great. So a lot of times I also would look at the end goal, which is I want to get a good grade on it. So I would just sit down and I literally, Alex, I'm telling you, I'd have to force myself to sit down and pull it up and say, okay, what do I have to do? And also just seeing that the to-do list wasn't as long as I thought in my mind was also something that was reassuring to me that I might not actually take as long as it needs to take. But for me, it was just really forcing myself to sit down and getting over the hump and writing out, okay, have to read the chapter, have to find the themes, have to find the main characters, have to start writing the paragraph. But writing everything out for me so detailed really helped, and checking it off just helped me see that I can do it and I can get to my end goal, which is getting the grade that I want to get in.
Yeah, what I'm noticing in that story is you have this big project that's hard to like conceptualize. But by
Hmm.
sitting down, chunking it up into small pieces, you could see what needed to be done. It became real for you. And so by chunking it up, you had little things along the way that you could check off and get that dopamine hit and keep yourself moving forward. Sometimes I'll tell myself when I've got a project to do that I'm just going to set up the project. I'm not going to worry about actually doing the project. I'm just going to set it up. And by doing that, once I've got it set up, it's like, oh, yeah, I could get started, you know? And just that little extra of, okay, yeah, maybe I could do a little more. Let's take out the next chunk and the next chunk. And it becomes a domino effect one trunk leads to the next trunk, and all of a sudden it's done.
Who would have thought?
Mhm.
You really never know. Who would have thought that coming up with that, and also kind of going back to your routines
Mhm.
and figuring out and knowing that, yeah, I want to sleep in, but I know that if I have all my classes, I get all my work done, then the nights is my reward and it works best for you. But also, it's important to remember that what works for me might not work for you, and what works for you might not work for me. So, the
Exactly.
good thing to know is just figure out what works best for you. So, I'm really interested for people to comment below and figure out, tell us what works best for you with the motivation, with the routine, or just with anything getting back and starting to school is what works for you, because what might work for us might not work for you and other way around. But you have to try in order to figure it out. And that's a key thing to always remember.
Absolutely. It doesn't have to be anything that's, I must do it. It can be fun. It can be light. You can make a game out of it. You know, if that's what motivates you, fun. If you're really motivated by fun, then play around with your school stuff. How can you make it fun? How can you make it a game?
And if you need help with that, just comment below and we'll be here to help figure out how to make it fun, because I'm all about fun, games, laughter. Got to make it fun, especially when it's tough times and getting started. But you definitely can do it. I'm Jess.
I'm Alex.
See you for next month.